Okay, good morning, everybody. I am Michihiro Nagao. Michihiro is my first name, but please call me Michi. I'm also an instrument scientist of Neutron Spin Echo at NSE. And I'm introducing you about membrane session, what we're doing. Majority of people now we know polymer. So I introduce a little bit more about membrane now. And this group is working with Dr. Elizabeth Kelly. She's there. She's an instrument scientist of small angle neutron scattering at NSE now. And also working with Dr. Min Fang, who's familiar for you. He's this project instrument scientist. We are now upgrading our instrument, and this will enhance the capability, and he is working on that project. Okay, so membrane. So membrane, when we say membrane, what is membrane? It's a layer with very thin thickness. It's like a paper. So stretching this paper is hard. But if you bending this paper, it's very easy. Why is that? This is because the material is confined in 2D, and the direction, the force applying to this direction is much easily distributed. Right? So this is a membrane, and we have different membrane systems using in a daily life. Of course, this is like a filtration or separation of materials. That is a polymer film or solid membranes. Those are macroscopic membranes. So you can see those membranes. But we are talking about membrane here. It's more like a surfactant system, amphiphilic molecules, like bubbles. Personal care products, we are using lots of different types of surfactants, and those are forming membranes in the solution. And even cell membranes are membranes, and lipid molecules assembling a barrier of this cell. This is quite important thing. And also even recent days, we have companies developed the new types of vaccines that is also using these membranes. So understanding those membrane properties, this is really important and interesting. And the application of these things is enhancing, so it is quite good system to approach for us. So specifically for model cell membrane, that is the target of our session. So this is a bilayer, 2 monolayers of molecules. So this is the thickness of a few nanometers. So it's very, very thin. And so it's easily fluctuating in solution. And these lipid membranes are amphiphilic molecules and forming like bilayers. Head group that is hydrophilic, and tail region that is hydrophobic. And these cell membranes embedded proteins, so interaction between lipid and proteins are important. We want to understand those properties. And this is compartmentalizing the system. So it needs to be stiff enough, right? But these things can move around. It needs to deform. So it needs to be soft enough. So this is a good balance that is appearing in cell membranes. And also this is happening, transport of molecules within the membrane and across the membranes. So different types of molecules are moving around within the membrane. So we want to understand those things, like a protein is transporting, domain is forming and deforming, and we have undulating the membranes, and thickness exists, so thickness probably is changing with time as well. So these are the things we are interested in, and with using different types of techniques, we can access different types of membrane dynamics. So macroscopic, under microscope, you can see big vesicle, and those are moving around. So you can see those dynamics. And also, you can use spectroscopic techniques, and at the molecular level, you can see the different types of motions, like side chain is rotating, the types of motion. And the neutron spin echo is actually covering this range that is in between the molecular length scale and macroscopic length scale. And we are having membrane, we are seeing the system as a membrane. That is the length scale we are at. And the time scale-wise, these membranes are thermally fluctuating. That is a time scale we can access using neutron scattering technique. neutron spin echo station. So that is the target. So membrane fluctuation, those are the target, and this is bridging the information between macroscopic and microscopic. And so this is kind of some examples of what we have been doing. This is what we can see is undulation fluctuation. So membrane edges, and these membranes are undulating. And those types of undulation fluctuations we can see, and that undulation is actually controlled by elastic properties of the membrane. So we can extract information about how rigid the membrane. Another type of membrane dynamics is thickness. So this is a thin layer, but those thickness is changing. And that thickness change is controlled by the compressibility of the membrane. And dissipation is happening within the membrane. So that dissipation is through the viscosity of the membrane. So our time scale, we are very sensitive to this area compressibility and the viscosity. So those types of motions we can see. And also, if we go molecular level, those hydrophobic tails, those are correlating with each other. And that types of motion, if you see, those are coming from the friction between these molecules. And those molecular friction, that is the source of the viscosity of the membrane. So viscous property that we can see from this thing as well. So those are the types of motion we can see. And some applications. So this is a mixture between different lipids. This is just the tail length is different. Other things are the same. When you mix two lipid molecules, then the membrane becomes more dynamic that we see, and less viscous. So it's just more dynamic. But the interesting thing is if we scale all those parameters with the area per lipid, that is the area that is occupied by a molecule, that is relating to the structure information, that is actually giving you universal relationship. So structure and dynamics are actually going together. So that kind of things we could see. It was interesting. And then when we embed the proteins in the system, this is a peptide, small concentration range, we enhance the dynamics. But as we increase the concentration of these small molecules, the membrane dynamics becomes smaller and smaller. So this is relating to the channel formation. Once channel is formed in the membrane, those are types of a pin, and the membrane dynamics becomes slow. So another way of saying is it becomes more rigid. Another thing is this is a user experiment. They make asymmetric lipid bilayer. This is, we know that plasma membranes have a concentration difference in the different leaflet. So this is biological relevant, I think. So when you make these types of asymmetric lipid bilayers, the fluctuation becomes slower, more rigid. The types of information we could extract. So those things, I think it's interesting. And in this session, what we are going to do is we see, to see this flavor, we measure charged lipid membranes. This is a single membrane, but charged. And we know that there is a phase transition, and phase transition makes your membrane very soft. Why is that? That types of information we see. So with this, we want to know how NSE works, know the meaning of NSE data, and know nanoscale membrane dynamics. That is what we plan. Yeah, thank you.